And we're live. Hey guys, welcome to another US history live stream. Probably will keep this going until my camera overheats. Ooh, the fan's blowing colder air now. So here is the board. Oh, dang. Alright. Let's complete this. Do now. Facing toward the window.
Good. God, hopefully not like a half day or something with all the snow. Shoot.
Half day.
You're here early.
What's that?
You're here early.
You were here on time.
3:15. 3:15. Yes.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? A little bit of snow on the ground, everyone's just like, alright, I'm gonna head out. Well, I'm gonna stay in, yes. About 4 more minutes. Oh, 3 actually. What's it do now?
The world in spatial terms. Are you sure this is the right questions?
Regular pencils. I only ever use like the 9mm or that 0.9. The only way to do the do now logic is to have a textbook. Same to you. Thank you, sir.
Enough for a swing. Oh, I'm back.
No, textbook, Jackson. In order to do the do now, you need a textbook. You have to go to page 315. There's a map with 2 questions.
What are the quick
Answer 2
paddle?
questions. By utilizing that.
Nobody's gonna try. There's me. The only way to answer the textbook questions is if you have no textbook. Look at the snow.
You got a couple more minutes because I know most people have not been paying attention or trying to do now.
Those.
Embarrassing if I ask the question and answer number 1 was. Textbook isn't over. So
messages. Go real quick. What states other than Tennessee benefited? Kentucky, North Carolina.
About 2 more minutes.
Yes.
11:20. We'll do that together.
Kentucky. G or G Georgia. You better not say that out loud.
Don't care about that. No thanks for that. I apologize.
I spelled it.
That still makes me late to my class.
And that's it.
Maybe, probably.
Oh, in Virginia.
I think that's the policy at school and everything. Yeah, text it.
Huh?
How's the stream doing? I forgot to answer the second question. And of course, the fan always has to freaking flip the page. I did not ask you to flip the page. Okay. Because there's water there. Because there's waters there.
Answers.
Enough for a swing. Lecture time.
Do you know the colors of the, if you're a Republican, what color is it? Red or blue? Do you
I
know?
think it's red for yeah.
And the Democrats blue, right?
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Franklin Sonny D. Roosevelt. I like drinking Sunny D, but I can't drink Sunny D.
Was my favorite.
Yeah, me too. Mine too.
Probably way too sugary, but whatever.
I like drinking Sunny D.
Alright. Let's go over these questions. You're still working on them, that's fine. If you haven't looked at them, that's not fine. If you've looked at one, answered one, cool. So, number one, what states other than Tennessee benefited from TVA projects? Give me one logic.
Georgia.
Georgia. All right. Carlos, another one?
Tell her to give us a
Yep.
doing my word.
North Carolina.
Just
Nice.
close the door, Chris.
All right.
I see it
All
though.
right, cool. So, what is, this isn't a question that's on there, but it's a part of the map itself. What is the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority? It's a part of what major program that FDR created? You guys remember? What's FDR known for? He campaigned on this. He called it something fancy.
The National
3 words.
Guard.
Well, what's it called?
A
During the
tennis.
Great Depression, he creates a series of programs that help people get their jobs, make money. What's it called? There's a name for it. Like all those programs put together. The TVA is a part of it. That's one.
Oh.
That's like the big name for the whole thing. If you're really observant in my class, you'd see that it's somewhere important.
Right here. BWL.
I think logic's on the right path to this answer. What's it called, logic? Oh, it's on the clever touch. The New Deal. There we go.
Oh.
I mean, Chris, you knew what it was. You guys knew what it was. It's just all of those programs, the TVA, Social Security, all that junk. It's just as a whole called the New Deal. FDR campaigns on it and basically crushes any hopes of Hoover being reelected because FDR is the one to go to. Right? The people vote him in because they know that he's going to help them out, and he does. So he creates something called the Tennessee Valley Authority. Cool. Why do you think the majority, so this is question 2, why do you think the majority of the projects were located in eastern Tennessee? What's there a lot of in Tennessee? Water. Which can
I
be
actually
used
got
for
it
things
right.
like hydroelectric stuffs. Power plants.
I
You
actually
need
got
water
that
to keep those power plants like at a certain temperature. Because they can't overheat, but they're super hot too to create power. Very good. Hey, you guys are on today. Awesome. Yeah.
Great day to go.
It's a great day. That's the motto of the day. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do. We need to finish up that one activity that I gave y'all on Tuesday. But I also kind of want to zoom through some of FDR's early stuffs. FDR is a president for how many terms? Do you remember?
4.
4 terms. Dude was president for a long time. He's president in the middle of the Great Depression all the way through World War II. We're only going to talk about FDR in this section up to his New Deal programs and kind of what happens just up to World War II. We'll cover him a little bit at the beginning of World War II, but then we'll get into a lot of other information, background type stuff, okay? So, today I want to zoom through FDR and what he does. Tomorrow I'd like to take a short quiz on FDR, so take good notes. Now I'll help you on the quiz. I want to show a video real quick that covers a lot of what FDR does. So you can take some good notes. I'll put some on the board. We'll do some textbook key terms. And then the rest of the hour will be for y'all to finish up that assignment from yesterday, or Tuesday. So, I'll ask, I'd like to watch the video for the next few minutes. I'll pause it at points.
Video.
The last time our nation's economy nearly ground to a halt, a newly elected president with the initials FDR tried just about everything to get it moving again. He led with bold actions and inspiring words. This morning, we look back to those times with 2 reports. We begin with John Dickerson.
Long lines for food, for relief, fear and despair, Though black and white, the pictures from the Great Depression echo America in the COVID era. National suffering and frustration. The virus is new, the struggle is not.
Our greatest primary task is to put people to work.
In 1933, newly elected Franklin Delano Roosevelt confronted 25% unemployment, the collapse of banking, and sweeping poverty. His response would reshape the way the country thought about itself, its president, and democracy.
The United States was in the fetal position, and people really wondered whether we would ever get out of this.
Jonathan Alter is author of The Defining Moment, FDR's 100 Days and the Triumph of Hope. We spoke inside the Manhattan home where Roosevelt slept the night he learned that he had won the presidency.
Roosevelt believed in what he called action and action now.
This nation is asking for action and action now.
And he used that word in his inaugural address 6 times. It actually got more applause than the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
While Roosevelt was ready for action, he had to make sure the country was too. At a time when the tenets of democracy itself were being questioned, he recast the social contract, convincing the American public they were all in it together.
What is the New Deal? It's a deal between the government and the people on what they expect of one another. And before Roosevelt was president, it was basically every man for himself. Rugged individualism, you know.
The only real contact the American people had with the federal government was when they went to the post office to buy a stamp. Roosevelt changed all of that.
He changed it by offering information and hope, says professor and historian David Woolner at the Roosevelt family estate in Hyde Park, New York.
People would gather around their radios and they would listen to their president explain what the government was trying to do. And this was very, very reassuring.
The famous fireside chats were few in number, but were symbolic of a connection between the patrician Roosevelt and those suffering with poverty. Something the president understood because he had suffered, says Susan Dunn, a Roosevelt scholar at Williams College.
I would say that the symbol of his presidency, of his life, is Warm Springs, Georgia.
Roosevelt was stricken with polio in 1921. He never walked again. During his recovery, he built a facility in Warm Springs, Georgia for other polio sufferers and took charge of its operation.
And it helped him to relate to all kinds of people. It's leading a life of kindness, of respect, of responsibility for the people we know, as well as for the people we don't know. That's what a real democracy requires. That's the moral basis of democracy.
With the country's support for his spirit of experimentation, Roosevelt unleashed a flock of programs.
They went to work building the infrastructure of this country in ways that are almost unimaginable now. They built 39,000 schools, 2,500 hospitals, more than 300 airports, 800 state parks.
The Hoover Dam, the Lincoln Tunnel, the Tennessee Valley Authority.
All right. What did FDR do with his programs? What did he create? What do you have people make? Wow, this is just depressing on my end. Woo! Man, this quiz is gonna suck tomorrow for y'all if you do not pay attention. Just telling you. I'm gonna do what's one thing that FDR's programs helped create or build. Yep, not listening. All right, next person. Chris, you've been hitting it out of the park today. Did you listen to anything that they said? FDR's programs helped create like a handful of different things. What was one of those things? That's okay. Anyone care to actually listen that wants to give an answer? Jackson, you vote, we replay the video? Why would I replay the video? I mean, you would listen, Carlos would listen, Andrew, Jackson, they'd listen. Not everybody would listen. Let's review it. What are some of the things you just said? What did FDR's programs create?
The Hoover Dam.
The Hoover Dam? That helps power Las Vegas. Okay? I know you listen to Jackson. What's one thing they created? Come on, tell me. Someone, other than Ricky, redeem this class a little bit. Come on now. Okay. Tunnels? Roads? Think about it. Maybe use your cell phone for good and look this stuff up for a second. Mr. Browns. Hey. Nope. I didn't see her come in today. A lot of kids are here today. Yeah, I wish if there was like a light snow. I just been thinking to school too. Yeah. Oh yeah, she was here yesterday. I will say this, and I will say this one time. The FDR administration created infrastructure. That's like buildings. What kind of buildings? Hospitals, schools, airports, parks, libraries. They create infrastructure. When you create a bunch of schools and libraries, what does that do for your people? Improvements how so? So if I created hundreds of thousands of schools and libraries, how does that affect the people of my country? Education. Helps them all learn, right? So they can get better jobs, so they can understand more. Yeah. If I do things like airports, how does that help the country? Or like roads and canals and stuff. Travel, transportation. All right. If I am a president and I say we need more hospitals in this country, what does that help with? Medical, health, safety, right? People that get injured in some cities that are kind of way away from major cities or towns can finally get a hospital where they can survive an injury rather than die from it. Yeah. He's doing all these things to help the country improve, right? He spends into debt for the U.S. so that he hopes the country will improve and be more successful in the long run. He's not thinking short-term solutions, right? When we think of FDR, these are long-term solutions. Some of them are immediate with like getting people jobs, because in order to build all those schools, you got to have a lot of workers build those, right? The Hoover Dam, there isn't a lot of like technology or cranes and stuff like that to help out. It's people that help build this. That helps them get paid, get a job. They can pay for their kids to eat. They can pay for a home. Helps all the issues that the Great Depression created. Right? Cool. All right. Look at that. Redeemed ourselves a bit.
Among the many major projects created with a Congress willing to work with the president. That didn't mean Roosevelt was without enemies.
I think there's a kind of an assumption that everything for him worked, but he had very, very strong opposition. There was plenty of partisanship, and there were plenty of Republicans and some Democrats who thought that he was becoming a dictator.
Soon enough, Roosevelt would be fighting real dictators in the Second World War, which ultimately lifted the country out of the Depression. America became a beacon for the world, and its leader, Roosevelt, offered a new way to measure the worth of a nation.
And he said, you know, the test of our progress is not whether we provide much to those who have much, but whether we provide enough to those who have too little.
That is the test posed by FDR for America's leaders today. Not just to survive, but to plot a course for a way to emerge from this crisis stronger.
The reason why I really like FDR a lot, the reason why I like him is because he, even though politically I may not agree with everything he does, I mean, we shouldn't agree with people completely, right? There should always be something that you can critique about a person. You shouldn't like an athlete, a star, a musician, a person, and like worship them. That's crazy. You should say, I like this person a lot, I really want to take all the good things from him, but maybe there are certain things that I don't like that I could do better, right? Critiquing. With FDR, he really changes the presidency into something that people can do and work with and change. With Hoover, he just kind of tried to stay a path that wasn't successful. And then when he tried to do relief programs, it was too little too late. FDR campaigns on something called the New Deal. When he does that, everyone loves him because he's helping the people. Who vote for the president? Right? In his first 100 days of office, he enacts many of the programs of the New Deal, like Social Security, which is what a lot of your grandparents, or maybe if you have older aunts and uncles that get money from the government every month, that's Social Security, or disability. That still exists today. FDR was a part of that, right? The CCC is something called the Civilian Conservation Corps. That's one of the programs on that activity I gave you on Tuesday that we'll finish. These programs deeply affect the people in our country. He really turned the presidency from like I'm just a man in the White House, I'm gonna do whatever I want, to I'm a president first and I have to help my people. That's the point. So it's from the first 100 days of office, he made tons of changes to the government. All right. We'll talk about some of those changes now. If you have a textbook in front of you, which I hope you do, you should go to pages 320 and 325. There are 6 total, so 3 and 3 on each page, key terms. I'll give you about 5-ish minutes to write those down. 320 and 325.
All right.
We'll do those key terms. When we are done with those, we'll go over them, and then the remainder of the hour is yours to work on that chart that I gave you on Tuesday. Make sure you have what's on the whiteboard in your notes. If you don't know what any of these are, you should ask me. Like, you should know that FDR had polio, and that affected him. It also made him understand that he needs to help people who are disabled. TV was not a big deal because not everyone had television, nor was it really syndicated in the 1920s or 1930s, but 40s and on it is. Radio was a bigger deal, and like once every few months or so, he would do a fireside chat where he would tell the people what he was doing with government. And that made him much more personable. People liked him for that, right? It's like when a president or a big figure goes out into a bunch of cities and towns and talks and hangs out with people, it makes them seem more relatable than like this rich famous person who's living in Hollywood or wherever rich famous family are. Key terms and definitions. That's it. At about 11:45 we'll go over them, okay? 320 and 320. Yeah, so there's 6 key terms. 320 and 325. If you ever want to know, I put it on the whiteboard in blue next to the agenda. I always put the page numbers in that box. That's cool. What's this for? Something important. Oh my most favorite baseball player. Oh, like a poster right here. No, it's not Jackie Robinson. That's another famous person. Or where's the commercial? Yes. Yeah, Grant. Grant. If you get done early with these key terms and definitions, then you can grab a Chromebook and keep working on that assignment on Tuesday and finish it up. There's also a current event due tomorrow, so work on that too. Why are we gonna gossip about her? What did Jennifer do? Oh. You never know until you take one of those like ancestry. Oh. I know. Like I said, you never know until you take a DNA test, and then you'll find out that your dad or your mom had a few friendships. My dad didn't know that he had a brother for a long time, because my brother, like, they had a kid with his brother was also named Carlos. He's my dad's name is Carlos, and that his brother also
Cheetos.
Couple more minutes, and then we'll go to key turns. Don't worry if you're not done. It is good. Another busy day, but that's not. I kind of like days when there's like very few students in class, because I can sit and talk and work with you guys more individually. I mean, it gets a little annoying when like I'm trying to do that and then I see a sea of cell phones. But I mean, as long as you're listening, that's all I care about. I don't like being cell phone police. So I know. But I'll make comments about it. I think there's one word that people should know about me. My personality. It is sassy. Opinionated sassy. Vocal. Did you finish the activity from Tuesday? Okay. So, can you find it? Or?
Yeah, it should be on the table.
Do you want to grab it? All right, let's go over these key terms real quick, and then the rest of the argument goes to chill out and do work as you see fit. 320. Get to it. Deficit spending. Henry, please. What is deficit spending? Come on, say with your chest. Come on. Yep. Economy. Economics, economy. It deals with money. That's all that matters, okay? So, deficit spending just means spending into debt. Usually, if the government wanted more money to buy stuff, they would raise taxes. But the government can spend into debt and take loans out. FDR did this, whereas Hoover didn't. Because FDR is a democratic socialist president who believes in stuff like that. Spending into debt in order to stimulate the economy. Right? Think about it this way. It's like when you guys hopefully go to college or higher ed or some kind of skill trade school, you spend money to go there. Most people will take out loans in order to do that. That's spending into debt in order to boost your own academic and economic well-being. I took out loans to go to college so that I could get a potentially better, higher paying job. That's like a small scale version of what this is. Okay? Deficit spending, spending into debt to boost the economy. Binding arbitration. I'm gonna do please and thank you. Deep sigh, huh? Yep. Someone that's not a part of either opposing side helps come to a compromise or an agreement. Politics is all about that. Democrats and Republicans never see eye to eye. But you can have someone that comes in and helps them come to a compromise. They don't get everything they want, they get a little of each. Sit down strike. Zay, can you do that for me, please?
Method of boycotting work by sitting down at work and refusing to leave the establishment.
Okay. Oh, I'll grab it. So, sit down strikes. Oh. Say, for instance, you get a decrease in pay at your job. They say, hey, we're going to pay you 10% less than we've been paying you. And you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to quit or I'm just not going to show up to work. That's one way to strike or to protest. Another way is to say, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come into work, I'm going to sit at my spot, but I'm not going to do anything. And that's a way to make companies kind of feel that pressure, because then they can't hire other people. You're there interfering, and it's not violent. You're just sitting there not doing anything. A lot of students know perfectly well what a sit-down strike is, because I think a lot of students sit-down strike education. Take a seat here, you just don't do anything. But, I mean, it makes presence felt, right? There's a point to it. It makes sense. All right, 325, let's get to those. Court backing. Carlos, please tell us what court backing is. Judiciary. Nice, sweet. So, in the federal government, there are three branches: the legislative, judicial, and executive. Okay? Three branches. They all check each other. No one branch has more power than the other. Here's the thing, though. if certain branches politically align, then they do have more power over each other. In the judicial branch, you have what's called the Supreme Court. There's an uneven number of them in order to make sure that there's always a majority decision. They serve for life, though. There's a finite number of them, and they serve for life. When they die or resign, the president appoints one, and then the Senate and Congress approve of them. Typically, presidents, for instance, Franklin Roosevelt, he's a Democrat, he's going to appoint Democratic-leaning judges. And if there are enough Democratic-leaning judges in the judicial branch, now you have two branches that are Democratic-leaning, which means that power's in the Democrats' hands, the government. That's the whole point. He would court pack and appoint a bunch of judges that align with his ideals so that he could push through plans and projects he approves of. That's court packing. All right, I'll do broker state. Role of government to work out conflicts among competing interest groups.
One of them. What's your other favorite?
Here's the issue. When we create all these New Deal programs, the government isn't the one just creating and doing everything. All the government's doing is saying, hey, we will pay a company or a business money to do these things. Then companies will compete for the contract. And that's the big idea there. Companies love government contracts because they get paid way too much money for those contracts. Why? The government, for some reason, likes to do that in order to increase competition. Weird, but that's economics. All right, safety net. Logic, please make it. Safety net, please.
Something that provides security against the switch, especially government relief programs in terms of protecting the rest of the economic disaster.
All right. Answer this question for me. If there was another Great Depression, would you like relief programs to help protect you from economic failures and downturns? Right? That's obvious. Yes, of course you would. If you fell from a 20-story building, you'd like a net or a pillow to catch you. That's a safety net. FDR had the foresight to say, we will probably have another economic downturn. These happen. What I'm going to do is create programs that when it does happen, these people will be protected. What people is he talking about? The ones that do not have a ton of money saved up. Not the middle class, not the rich. The lower class people who need that support. The elderly, the disabled, mentally or physically. Right? I don't know. Kind of a smart guy. The president. Not a great person. That's to be determined. That's for y'all. Okay. Enough me talking. You got like 12-ish minutes. You can keep working on that activity from yesterday, or I'm sorry, from Tuesday. Grab a Chromebook, or you can use your cell phone. You go to Google Classroom. I have that link up. It's for all the FDR policies. I'll get you one. If you can't finish it within the hour, then you can work on it at home. Turn it in to me tomorrow. Remember, there's also a current event due tomorrow. Probably have a quiz too, so make sure you write down what's on the whiteboard in your notes. If you got any questions, feel free to ask.